Welcome to Muddy River News this week, furnished by Harvey's. I'm Bob Goff. Kent Snider is the chairman of the Adams County Board. There's a lot of things going on in the county these days. They're got a brand new jail they're still trying to break in and make some other improvements around the courthouse, and they're starting a new fiscal year. We're going to talk to Mr. Snider about that right now. Hello there.
Hello, Bob.
Thanks for stopping by.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
And I guess first thing to talk about is, December. The county's fiscal year is a little different than others. You start your fiscal year on December 1st. So you got a brand new fiscal year. You're flush with cash. Things are great, right?
Sure, Bob. No, officially we will start a new year fresh December 1. We've managed to keep the tax rate, as we call it, flat. Mm-hmm. Same as last year. We're basically living off of just the rise in assessed value. Mm-hmm. That helps pay our employees their raises, which a lot of the contracts are about 3% per year. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much it.
And the county has multiple bargaining units they have to deal with. And when you talk about the rise in assessed valuation, it's always nice to get that money, because nobody wants to go and say that they had to, we've got to go raise taxes. It's kind of a dirty word around here, dirty word anywhere.
It is, and I think we're pretty conservative when it comes to that. We haven't raised taxes in quite some time above the EAV. So we try to be conservative, but we have to be fair to our employees so that we can retain our employees, because we really do have a good staff.
One of the things, though, that you do have to find extra revenue for is when you want to have new projects. And of course, something that was desperately needed in Adams County for some time was the new jail. And it's nice new building sits there, and it closed off 6th Street, and that's going to maybe have some other future benefits for some of the other people around here. It's only a couple blocks from here. But how is the county getting along with the new jail?
Well, it's we had some growing pains. We realized that we need more staff, because we're going to double our population, possibly, and it's big enough that it takes an hour to do the walkthrough. Mm-hmm. So literally, as soon as the guy makes the walkthrough, we have to have another person there to do the next walkthrough. So, and you do that 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So we need to hire 4 more jailers, corrections officers, and those are hard to come by.
And also the fact is that when you're building a facility here in 2020, 2021, it's also going to be a little more technologically advanced than the old one. So you've got to kind of figure out how to operate that. Talk a little bit about some of the other things that have had to go in to make this a modern facility.
Well, obviously a lot of technology. There are over 100 cameras in the new jail, over 100. In between, all the hallways and so forth. We have our own kitchen now. We have, and it is staffed with some of the inmates to help do the work. We've got our own laundry service. Again, some of the inmates help with that. And we've got huge TVs. We have 3 different stations where they can monitor the whole jail.
And at what point, because I know the capacity right now, you're not full with inmates. At what point will that happen, and why do you have to gradually build up to that?
Well, I don't think we are gradually building up to it right now with the early release and so forth. They just haven't filled it up. We've been at our all-time high was about 155. We've run about 100 to 125. But what I would like to do, since we have extra rooms, and once we get the staff in place, that's when I would like to start housing federal prisoners.
Because you get reimbursed for that.
We get reimbursed for that, and it's as much as $100 per day per individual. If we can do a dozen rooms, we could make $1 million a year income for the jail and the sheriff's department.
And when you're looking at this, and again, I vividly remember the old facility as in tours and stuff. I was fortunately I never had to spend a night there, but it was in pretty rough shape. So to be able to do something like this, and again, it was something where the county had to go and seek a referendum for, and Adams County supported that. And back when that happened, the county supported that, and then the city supported the building of the new schools. So we had this big construction boom going on. And so when all that was going on, I think it was everybody recognized the need to modernize and the need to upgrade. But also people realized we put out a lot of money there between the schools and the county over that time. And right now the county, after doing that, is it something where that's you're getting your feet you're getting your hands wrapped around this new jail? Kind of talk about what's next with the county, and like I said, you don't want to raise taxes, so you're probably not going to go out like trying to for any more referendums for anything anytime soon. No. But what are some of the other things the county has on its list coming up here for 2022?
Well, we were blessed with the ARPA money. And so there are some things that we can do to benefit the county with that money, but there are a lot of strings with that money. And we have to spend it. We got almost $13 million. We have to spend that by the end of 2024. Some things are qualified and some are not. And it's kind of weird the way they do it. So IT, that qualifies. Anything to do with IT. So we're putting in $1 million IT upgrade in the court through the whole courthouse, and it'll be through the health department and everything. $1 million. It's like $1.2 million, but it'll be state of the art, and that'll be done by February, and we're paying for that out of ARPA money. Some of the other things we're doing with ARPA money, we did. People don't realize that we had 5 elevators in the courthouse. 2 were on CPR and 1 was completely dead. Yeah. So we went to Bellwether, they tell us what is covered and what is not. And we said, we need new elevators. And he said, that qualifies. How does COVID get you a new elevator? Well, it's how many people you're crowding into an elevator. Sure. So COVID money, ARPA money, is paying for 3 new elevators. That will be done by February and March. Now, the neat thing about this is not only are we doing these improvements and not raising taxes, but now we've got IT system that's good for 5 to 10 years. You don't have to spend a dime on it. Don't have to put anything in capital budget for that. New elevators, you'll never have any repairs for 10 or 15 years. You won't spend a penny on elevators. So this saves money for boards down the road. What I would love to do, if I can figure it out, is finish the drive-it on the building and put a new roof on the building before the money runs out.
Is that something that your consultants tell you will qualify as well, the roof?
That's what I have to run by them. I have to finish. I have to figure out the drive-it and the roof to see if it qualifies. If not, we're doing one side of the building each year and putting that money in capital.
And the money that the counties receive from COVID relief, again, as Kent described, they had to retain a firm to kind of help them vet this, which is necessary these days because of all the strings attached to this money. Yes. Because there were school districts in Southern Illinois that were like, well, we need a new football field. Well, sorry, you're not going to. COVID's not going to buy you that. No. But again, when you talk about elevators, and especially when you talk about ADA and things like that, trying to conform to all of the other federal regulations, it seems like those are pretty logical fits.
They are, and another thing we're doing new HVAC in the health department. They've had a lot of problems with that system since day one, so we're putting a new HVAC system in that. Those bids are being opened next Friday, I believe. And the ARPA money's paying for that because it has to do with air circulation in the building. And so that was a no-brainer, and we're doing the same thing in a couple of months at the youth home. New units for the top of the building, because there's 7 units up there, and every year one of them dies. Yeah. So it'd be nice to replace like the last 4, and then we don't have to worry about it for 10 or 15 yeyears.
And again, when you're talking about air circulation, that's it seems like another no-brainer that you'd have there. So, so you got something else that's also coming up though for the county board this year after the redistricting is done. All 21 seats are up, correct?
They are. All 21 seats are up, and I know we're losing at least 3 people. So I would encourage anyone that wants to run to run.
You've had a few new members come in anyway because of some illnesses and people moving and other things like that. You're always a 21-person board. You're always going to have turnover, aren't you?
We are, but I've been on 17 years at this point, and we've had more of a turnover in the last 5 years because of deaths. We've lost 3 folks. Right. Of course, Chuck left, Ryan Niekamp then moved over, And so, yeah, it's been an unusual turnover.
But again, it's something that, with, again, 21 members, and they're all up this year. When you talk, a lot of the people will talk about, and, I know your friends of the city council have joked that, why don't the county board get any calls? Why is it the city gets called? I'm sure that, especially the people who live, probably not in Quincy proper, a lot of people out there know and work with their county board members quite a bit.
They do. I get calls and I get emails, and people stop by, and I don't mind. I would love for, if people have a question, call me and ask me personally. Don't believe what your buddy told you or what you read. And if it's on Facebook, it's always true, right, Bob?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
If there's a question or something that you hear that you don't like or don't agree with, call me and ask me, and I'll try to explain the facts. And then if you still don't like it, then that's great. At least you had all the facts.
The county board for years, it was sort of, you work with the county clerk very closely on issues, the organization and everything, and trying to get the minutes of the meeting and the agendas and all that stuff. But also over the last few years, you had a county administrator. As you mentioned, Sue Hester, she went on move over to the jail. There was some talk about filling that role. Where are you with that right now?
We're going to advertise that in January. We are going to fill that role.
Okay.
We tried having Ryan oversee that, but it's down the hall, and he's got his own stuff to do.
Well, he's a county clerk and recorder both. Now,
exactly. So he can't run 3 offices, one here, one down there, one upstairs. It just got too much, and we were just spreading him too thin. So we are going to advertise that in January, February, and I want to fill that seat by March 1st if the right person comes along.
So when, again, 2022 comes around, it's an election year, you're going to have a sheriff's up for election, and then what other county offices, besides the board members and the sheriff, which other ones are up in this rotation you recall? I don't off the top of my head.
I don't recall, but I'm not sure. Other than the sheriff, I think the rest of them just were up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think we're good.
And again, that's always the relationship between an office holder who was elected by the entire county, and then the 21-member county board who were all represented amongst their own 7 districts. How do you feel in your tenure as board chairman the relationship's been with office holders and the board?
I think it's much better than it was earlier when I first got on the board. We try to listen to them. We try to help them. So no, I think it's much better. We can always improve.
Well, and again, they're going to come to you and they're going to say, I'm going to need X dollars. And you're going to say, how about X minus 5%? That's always kind of that give and take, right?
Exactly. So you tell us what you need and we'll tell you what we can afford.
Speaking of the Ford, one thing that the county has always had is longevity. There's been consistency in board chairs. For example, you had Mike McLaughlin less post than you, both for pretty good tenures. And then, but in that same regard, the finance chairs have always had pretty long tenures. You had John Heidbreder, Dwayne Vemberlo, and now Brad Austin. So that's something where you kind of have to really have the knowledge and kind of that working understanding of how that works, because I know that there was a handoff from John to Dwayne, then Dwayne to Brett, and then when you work with them in that regard, and especially when you have a situation like you have now with you have this new COVID money coming in and trying to work balance your finance chair, you and that office holder. Those would have to be some meetings where you got the office holder might say, well, we have all this COVID money and I need this. Are the office holders making some more requests because of that, or how's that communication been?
So when we found out we were getting the ARPA money, we reached out to all the office holders. We sent them an email and asked for a list of their wants and needs, and they got all those back to us, and then we sent them to Bellwether for their opinion on what would be covered and what would not be covered. And so we've got a list of everything that they would want.
And some of the other things that you've been able to use that ARPA money for, the fair was able to get a little bit of that, correct?
They were. They showed a loss because of no fair and other activities on that property. They lost $192,000 over a year and a half. So we gave them $192,000 for their loss. In the spring, we're going to give them another $200,000. We're going to upgrade their water and sewer at the fair and build a new restroom facility. That restroom facility at Adams County Fair is 60 years old.
Oh yeah.
So,
Well, and again, I think that's something where people in the county, it's we have to realize that we're one county. We have all the towns, the outside. It's not every. I mean, I know Quincy's the biggest town and 2/3 of the population, but still, people have to realize that the Camp Points, Liberties, Mendons, Ursas, Paysons of the world, Claytons, they're all part of the county too. And when something like this happens, they should all get a chance. If they need something, they should have a shot at it.
they should. And I've got, so out of 21 board members, I've got probably 4 to 6 that are literally live in the county, and they watch that, and
Sure.
and they should. They're watching out for their constituents. So that 500,000 to the fair, or 450, whatever it was, that made a big impression on them.
And I know also, the sheriff's department, it's like when, the folks in the county always are glad when they see the sheriff's cars out there and not roaming around Quincy proper so much.
Yes.
And I know they've got the ambulances out there. They've got their own ambulance stations out there. And let's talk about the ambulance, because that was something that was really financially struggling, but it seems to have made a bit of a turnaround.
It has. We reconfigured the ambulance board. We now have 5 members. John was fortunate enough to hire 2 extremely good billing people, and in 2.5 years he went from 2.2 million in the red to 600 in the black. So they literally have really cleaned it up.
And again, you when you have the ambulance is one of those things that when you need it. And I know they're able to make some call. They're able to make some other money on the side with some transfers and and all that kind of stuff. But still, the money it goes through the insurance and the Medicaid. It's like, okay, we got to bill them, and you got to bill them properly, and you got to get that money back.
Yes, that's the key: billing them properly, coding it properly, knowing how to follow up when you don't get paid, and they're just doing a wonderful job out there.
And so as the county heads into 2022 with everything that's going on, and you talk about again the courts and the jails and the sheriff's office and all that. That's a pretty sizable chunk of the county's budget, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, people don't realize that's a large part of it. Yeah.
And when you look at that, I mean, when people want to, I mean, and the transparency is there. People can go online and look at the budget and say, okay, we're spending this on this, and each office holder gets that. Right. I think that's one thing people don't realize is that if the information is out there, I mean, if you can't find it, you can always issue a FOIA or whatever. But the easiest way is generally go online, because you go online and it's like, okay, that's right there.
Yeah, we're pretty transparent these days.
And minute meetings and all that kind of stuff. It's something that, the nice thing that the county has is they've got their own elected attorney with a staff who can also walk you through that stuff.
Yes.
Gary Farha was on here a couple of weeks ago, and we had kind of talked about some of the things that was going on in his office. And when you again, it's that relationship with the office holders, and that you got to deal with on a regular basis, because really, aside from the power of the purse, that's each office holder is pretty autonomous, aren't they?
They really are, and you work with them every day, and they're like family. Brett Austin and I talk almost every day. I try to leave him alone on weekends, but Gary Farha, there's always fires burning somewhere, and Gary and I talk 5 days a week, and so you speak to these guys just every day.
And again, it's the county. What's the total employee number right now, ballpark?
We're just over 400.
Okay, and which is again, that's a pretty good chunk of people.
It is.
And again, when you're talking about all the new people that were needed for the jail and the IT upgrades, and the other thing that I think when you guys are looking at this ARPA money, you've also got to you realize that money is not there every year. So you've got to figure out, you guys have to know, okay, we've got to put certain things in place, but we've also got to be able to pay for it later.
That's true. And as I said earlier, that's kind of part of the game, is to figure out what we can spend it on that will save us money down the road. Mm-hmm. If I don't have to do the elevators for 10 years, if I don't have to do, if I could figure out a way to put a new roof on that building,
sure,
which it's going to be ready in less than 5 years, that would be great. Then the building's good for 15 years, and to finish the drive it if that's, and that may be covered because of circulation. Then the building would be all done, and that's just money you don't have to put in a capital budget,
Right.
which is money you don't have to tax for.
And also with when adding new employees, you know, you got to figure out, okay, we're going to add this new employee. We might have a little more extra money now, but how are we going to pay that employee 5 years down the road?
Exactly right, and that's where I've had discussions with the sheriff, and I've even had discussions with Tony because we grew up together. But once we get all these employees into place, if we can start housing federal prisoners, we can start. That'll help pay for these extra corrections officers, and so forth. You know, because like I
You
say,
mentioned Tony
Groton's.
Oh, well, he's running for sheriff.
Yes,
so,
yes,
okay.
yes.
Because
So-
we've got that to the they got that election coming up.
Yes,
you got,
yes, we do.
And I don't even, I mean, and I guess Sheriff Wagner is still kind of, I don't think he's committed one way or the other yet. So.
He hasn't. I've not heard anything.
So,
And
well, anyway,
yeah.
he's on my list to have on here pretty
Oh,
soon
yeah,
too, because we're
Joe.
trying to get all the people
Yeah,
on the
we've
weekend.
been
so.
friends since the 5th grade at Monroe School.
Okay,
yes.
so Monroe School's not even there anymore.
It
That's a new
isn't.
school. That's where
I
my
know.
wife teaches. So, well, anyway, Ken Snider, Adams County Board Chairman, we want to thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Bob. I would come speak to you anytime.
Appreciate it. That's all the time we have now for Muddy River News this week. I'm Bob Goff. Have a great week.